Thanks very much for the intro, and thanks for the welcome. Diolch yn fawr iawn am y croeso yma heddiw. Neis I weld chi gyd, lovely to see everybody. So, when I was asked to give the keynote speech here today, I was honoured, particularly because I'm a huge fan of what you all do and what the AIF does. Although festivals are very close to my heart, talking at length about them isn't something that I'm used to. In fact, talking for more than 2 minutes without being able to play a song isn't something I'm used to either. But let me start by telling you about my first ever festival experience. My first festival was also my first ever gig. It was the National Eisteddfod in 1995 when I was 14 years old. Now, this was an amazing experience. It was a rite of passage, if you will. Our usually cautious, caring parents would not only allow us, but encourage us to go to the Welsh National Eisteddfod for a week of camping, music, debauchery, bonfires, young love and bad food. And all because it was a cultural event, with the Welsh language and Welsh culture at the heart of it. So the Eisteddfod, who are here today, you should meet them, if you're not familiar with it, is famous for its poetry recital, literature competitions and choirs. And I'm not talking about just a literature tent in a field while a band plays a little too loudly next door. It was founded by Iolo Morgannwg in 1792, and the first ever meeting of the bards of Great Britain happened in Primrose Hill in London. Now, Iolo was an opium-addicted fantasist who created a make-believe tradition that would bring people together for centuries to come. Clearly, Iolo's reasons for starting his own festival are still valid over 200 years later. He had a vision and gave those who trusted him a cultural awakening. He was, if you like, a kind of robbed a bank of his time. And so, back to modern-day Eisteddfod and my first festival experience. Poetry recital and choirs aren't particularly my thing, but the nighttime music, live side of things definitely were. I was 14 years old and watching Topper, John Peel favourite, 2 albums released on the Angst label, in an empty room during the festival. I watched them play to an audience of 1, me, felt sorry for them, and clapped enthusiastically after they'd finished playing, only for the lead singer to turn to me and say, "You know this is the Soundcheck." I've never been so embarrassed, but also excited to witness live music in my life. I was technically at a gig, and I didn't even know what a Soundcheck was. That was me, a festival convert. As you know, the whole idea of a festival being some bands in a field and hoping for the best isn't enough anymore. You need a reason, a purpose, a USP, an overwhelming selling point to make the festival a good one, to entice people to come, to give them something that they won't get anywhere else. That is the beauty of I'm going to move that. That is the beauty of a festival, no matter how small or how big it is. It's the idea behind it that continues to make it appealing to those who pay to go there. The ethos, atmosphere and ideas behind a festival make it what it is, and it's those festivals with ambition and those that pay attention to the finer details that make them stand out from the crowd and create memories that stay with those who go there every year for a long time afterwards. My festival memories start at the Eisteddfod. They continue to Reading Festival, which next year I will have been to for 20 consecutive years. The sheer excitement of being there with friends, with the bands we'd only ever read about or heard on the radio playing there, was beyond words. That same adrenaline rush, the same sense of discovery, is still a thrill. Even though I now work at the festival as a compere and DJ, it never really feels like work because of the history of the festival and because of my history with it. I still remember poring over the lineup that first year and trying to imagine what it would be like in a field where every band I ever liked would be playing live on stage. So I still do this with a lineup, but it only ever becomes reality and real when you're there and the bands are playing and you're in the middle of it all. Next came the Big Chill, where I remember everyone being so very pleasant. Later at Truck Festival, the very idea of being in an Oxfordshire village and watching Pulled Apart by Horses playing in a barn was too much to handle. At Barn on the Farm, I had the nicest sausage roll ever whilst watching 30-piece all-female choir gaggle confuse everybody. And Bingley Live this summer was, for me, all about the nice catering people who let me watch the Wales football game on their laptop. My festival memories, you'll notice, are a little bit all over the shop, but my point is that so is everybody's. I haven't mentioned a single headliner, which I know might be frustrating when you've spent a lot of your budget on them. Headliners aren't the be-all and end-all of festivals. We've all had a bad festival experience, a toilet story, a drunk story, a losing your mobile, or even worse, losing your best mate for the weekend story. I've got some, which in the interest of decency, I'm not going to talk about today, but two unfortunate memories do stick out. One was while waiting to go into a festival and seeing one person being denied entry because she had a ticket but not her ID and was advised to go back to London to get her ID to get in. And we were quite far away. And it was all of this that was happening while she was dressed in a rabbit onesie. The other baffling experience was at another big festival where I went to see Nick Cave headline the second stage and could literally walk to the barriers with ease with only a couple of hundred people watching him whilst practically everyone else on site went to see Kings of Leon. My point being here that even with all the planning in the world, you just don't know sometimes what the people you're catering for will actually end up doing or seeing. That's the big gamble. You might want them to use high-tech beer token gadgetry when they've brought a wad of tenors with them. And we've all been there when the one band on the bill you've booked and really want to see more than anyone else ends up playing to just you and your mate, who was probably on the guest list because of you anyway. A lot has been mentioned recently about how the big band bill hasn't got the same allure as it used to. In this digital age, I'd say the pick-and-mix approach of music at festivals has never been so appealing and reasonable, particularly at smaller festivals. A festival might have found its niche in attracting a certain type of person to come, but within that lie so many possibilities. The trying to please everyone approach has a certain sensibility to it now, with people more reluctant to spend an hour and a half with a big name that's being paid a lot of money and might prefer to dip in and out of some exciting new artists scattered across a festival bill. The sense of discovery, of trust in a festival has never been stronger. I know that when I go to End of the Road Festival that I'll find something that thrills and excites me that I have never heard of before. And I'm seeing someone who gets sent a lot. I'm someone who gets sent a lot of music every week. But at festivals, because of the reputation or the trust in that event, I know that I'll see something new. When people ask me how I get to hear and discover new music, you'll get the answers that you expect: friends, music websites, other DJs on the radio, record shops, and still the printed music press. We've all got our favourites. But also, very much, inspiration comes from festivals. The ads with lineups in Loud and Quiet and Crack and DIY magazines and others are a constant source of inspiration, from seeing names that are new to me to seeing where acts I've heard of are placed on the bill. Your festivals, just like labels and record shops, take more risks, push things forward and delve a little deeper to bring new music to an audience. And the smaller the festival, the more risks and the more brave bookings can take place. You don't have to appeal to thousands of fans. You can stand up and say, we believe in these artists, and you should too. And the artists really appreciate it. It makes not only press releases and gig listings, but is a real badge of honour. Put Newcastle spoken word singing poet Richard Dawson in front of a tent at V Festival, and he'd empty the tent as much as Little Mix would at Green Man. Put him on a Green Man, and his set will be talked about for a long time afterwards. Records will be sold, future gigs in the area will sell more tickets. Your support for new artists is essential and valued. That grassroots trust in taking a chance, taking a gamble, and believing enough in new talent to play your stages is so important. You'll notice that I'm concentrating on music today, the main reason for my love of festivals. The remarkable thing about what you all do, of course, is that most of the people who go to your events have no idea what you do from day to day. It's like a huge illusion. We all turn up for a lovely time where everything is in place and we can lose ourselves for the weekend. But behind every discovery and detail, you've been working hard to make it happen. There'll be someone who's in charge of and only cares about the food stalls, someone who only cares about how many tickets have been sold, someone checking up on the hashtags and Instagram posts, and someone who's cursing themselves for putting that band on after that band. That's the incredible teamwork that goes into your festivals, and in response, there'll be some paying festival goers at your festival who are only interested in the food, someone who is only there because it's local to them and they didn't want to go to or couldn't go any further. Someone who does insist on hashtagging everything they see, and someone who does only care about the music. It is all things to all people, and the passion and enthusiasm about each corner of the festival can really leave a lasting impression when all the various parts you care about come together. From a festival goer to working more and more at festivals, I see it as part of my job to reflect these events on air. As a BBC radio presenter, I've been lucky enough to be involved with BBC Introducing since its inception in 2007, with the aim of reflecting and encouraging new music by bringing it to new shows, to a new audience. Now, with the BBC shows on local stations and shows on BBC Radio's 1, 2, 3, 6 Music, 1 Extra and Asian Network, all playing new music at a grassroots level, there have been some incredible performances and stories. That listening out for and nurturing talent, giving the music being made a platform, is an incredibly important part of what BBC Music does. And festivals play a big part in that, of course. The BBC introducing stage at Reading and Leeds, Radio 1's Big Weekend, Tea in the Park, Festival, Eurosonic, South by Southwest, CMJ and Glastonbury have seen some memorable slots by emerging artists who've gone on to play some iconic festivals and some who've gone on to play other stages, festivals and tours. But it's not all about the bigger festivals, just like it's not all about the bigger shows. Local radio and local festivals are a vital part of the music discovery story. BBC Music is currently working closely with local and network radio to provide a bigger and better approach in 2016 to our festival coverage. This year, an iPlayer programme called Festival Pass was launched, following artists on their festival journeys, and there will be more next year. This reflects that a festival experience isn't all about just the music, but the festival as a whole, and can be just as exciting for the artist as the paying festival goer. We cover over 100 music festivals annually on the BBC, many of whom are already AIF members, and we're looking to increase our connection between BBC Music and these festivals in 2016. We look forward to sharing plans with you about this in the very near future. When I curate the Lake Stage at Latitude Festival in Suffolk, the local BBC introducing show there always choose a band to play each day and broadcast from there, reflecting the music and their artists of choice. The curator role is something I've enjoyed very much, at Latitude for 10 years and at Soon Festival here in Cardiff since 2007, which is very close to my heart, and on this weekend. John Rostron and I started Soon after visiting 2 inner-city festivals that were very different to each other. South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, kind of the Glastonbury of city festivals, if you like, a huge, sprawling, ever-expanding and iconic festival that you need to jump straight into with a sense of adventure to fully enjoy. And then Airwaves in Reykjavik in Iceland, a much smaller, compact affair where you can enjoy music at a more leisurely pace. But both made us think that Cardiff needed something similar and it needed to be done right, reflecting Cardiff and Wales, which is how Soon was born. Much has been spoken about and written about the late Tony Wilson's legacy with the Hacienda and the Factory Records label. But his In the City festival in Manchester was just as inspiring to us, and that also helped inspire Soon. The boom in city festivals, with Dot to Dot in 3 cities, Great Escape in Brighton, Tramlines in Sheffield, Liverpool Music Week, Live at Leeds, and so many more, is a great thing, with our cities the backdrop to some awesome music. These festivals' vision and energy can transform a city for their duration, but also their legacy lives on all year round. Friendships and partnerships are formed, musical horizons are expanded, and those who live in the city have a new important date in their musical diary. They can also set the agenda locally and politically, with councils and those in power seeing what a city could be and needs if it encouraged more live music. More and more city festivals are starting up, which I'm very happy to see. They, just like traditional festivals, take time and patience, teamwork and trust to make them successful. The beauty of a city festival is that it brings people and venues that are already committed to the city to make something happen. Venues are constantly looking for an audience, and highlighting them during a festival can remind people why they're important and part of a much wider infrastructure. These venues in our towns and cities need protecting more than ever. Whether on grass or on concrete, your work and your festivals not only give people immense pleasure for a few days every year, but shape people and their ideas for a long time after the fence has been pulled down or the doors have been shut. As the music industry constantly changes, the ritual of coming together, of creating something, of making something happen, of discovering something new to you has never been so important. I hope you enjoy this year's Festival Congress. Thanks to the AIF for inviting me, and thank you for listening. Diolch yn fawr.